mentioned, I don't know that you have a round circle in your material. I don't know that you need it, but so you probably don't have it. But to give me your attention, I want us to see the levels. The levels. Okay, it is in there. Principle of relationships. Hold that up where they can see it.
Yeah. You got another copy? That one?
Sure.
Okay. By the way, there are muffins, I think.
Muffins
Martha made
from
muffins. Uh-oh. With chocolate chips. Uh-oh. If you didn't mention that, I'd been eating coming out here. You wouldn't have it.
I was about to say,
Uh-huh.
there's going to be a big
Exactly
fight
one
about
for
muffins.
everyone.
One for everyone, okay. We're going to get the spiritual gifts in just a second. All right. Here is the principle. The closer you expose yourself to Jesus Christ and His Word, the more He reveals to you of Himself and His Word. People who are open in a marriage learn a great deal about each other quickly. People who hide things in marriage can take years to get to know someone that you sleep with every night. But so the principle of relationship is the closer you get to Christ, the more He reveals of Himself to you. If you get close to Him one day a week, that's called a church, then you have a baby knowledge of personal knowledge of Jesus. You might have a lot of theological knowledge, depending on your pastor, but you have very little personal knowledge. So I want us to see the levels of responsibility here and on your sheet. At the bottom, the 500, they experienced the resurrected Christ going to heaven. I believe after Jesus rose from the dead, He appeared to every person in Israel that had believed in Him, but were crushed because of His death. I believe He went back. See, He had 40 days or so to go back. I believe He went to every single person and revealed Himself to them. What was He doing those 40 days? He's going here and there. And He was invisible, then He'd pop up. Here He is, here He is, here. I believe He went to every person that had put their trust and faith in Him all over the area. And therefore, when He said, meet me in Galilee, 500 people. After 3 years, the Son of God had 500 people. The King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the man with all power, that's all He had after 3 years, 500. And they knew Him in His resurrection life. They saw Him rise and go to heaven. Then you have the 120 in the upper room. They knew Him in the power of the Holy Spirit because tongues as fire came down on them and they were filled with the Spirit. They knew the Lord Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit, revelation that came to them in the upper room. Are you getting the point? So they had a greater knowledge. The 70 or the 72 went out 2 by 2 and they applied what they had seen Jesus do, and then they came back and reported to Him, the demons were subject to us, there was miracles, there was power, we talked to people, we experienced people. They were involved in the ministry of Jesus. They experienced Jesus in ministry. Then there was the 12. They had made a commitment to have daily time and daily commitment with Jesus Christ. They knew Him in daily life as the person that dominated their life. Then Peter, James, and John knew Jesus in revelation and deep experiences. They were in the room where He took the girl that had died and brought her back alive. They were on the Mount of Transfiguration. They went into the garden, past where the others were, and went into the ultimate garden area where Jesus was. And He invited Peter, James, and John to go with Him further. they experience intimacy with the Lord. So you're as close to Jesus as you want to be. You ought to write that one down. You're as close to Jesus as you want to be. You want to be closer, you got to give him time. Now, John outlived them all, and John said, he loved me more than anyone else. Of course, no one else was alive. Peter would have knocked him down. But Peter was gone. There was no one alive but John. And John was taking care of Mary. And if you were to go to Turkey today, they would say, this is where Mary lived with John before she died. Mary died here. No one knows that. That's just a tradition. Others say Mary died in Israel. I don't know. But John took care of Mary the life that she had led. But he did say he loved me more than others because if you read the Gospel of John, the greatest revelation of intimacy is in John. You have 7 signs. He doesn't use the word miracle, but there's 7 signs. And you have 7 different revelations of him who by name. He is the light. He's the door. He's the good shepherd. He's the true vine. He's the resurrection and the life. He's the way, the truth, and life. All of these revelations. John had the greatest revelation of the intimacy and the union that we have in Jesus Christ. You won't find that we call it synoptic gospels. Everything peeled from the Gospel of Mark. Matthew has a high percentage that's in Mark. Luke has a high percentage that's in Mark. Mark supposedly is the first gospel written. They actually found in the El Prado Museum a number of years ago a piece of vellum that had 2 words from the Gospel of Mark, and they traced that with carbon dating to the 1st century. That's the oldest thing known that they think was from the Gospel of Mark. And the 2 words were written in 1st century script, and they found that it had been stuck in another book, and it had been sealed in and protected for 2,000 years, or whenever the book was. So that's the oldest little thing. There are 3 main scriptures where they're combination, the Sinaiticus Vaticanus, the Alexandrinus, and the other one I forget, maybe they call it Vaticanus, where they have most of the New Testament, most of the New Testament there, the Bible. And then they have pieces of it in the papyri in Egypt. The papyri they used the skins of animals, but they also used reeds, and the papyri did fairly well for a while. But I wanted you to see the more that you get, the closer you get to Jesus, the more intimacy and revelation that he makes. The principle of relationship. You want to get close to your boss? Well, the closer you get to your boss, the more you know your boss and the more he knows you. See? That way. I want you to see. But you set up, you're as close to Jesus as you want to be. Oh, did we turn that on?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Now in Romans, if you'd open your Bible to Romans chapter 12, let's look at something that we need to know. In Romans 12, after 11 chapters describing probably the greatest theological discussions about grace and law, they're in the book of Romans. Without Romans, we would not have a balanced New Testament. There are a few books that are essential. Roman is essential. Then you find in Romans 12:1 the word therefore, which always means what? When you mean therefore or wherefore?
Because of this, you should do or believe this.
It's talking about what's gone before. But he's built a case, and on that basis, he says therefore, then he shows you the application from all the 11 chapters. Chapter 12 is a summary of what you do because you know and believe chapters 1 through 11. So every time you see therefore or wherefore, that means it's connected with the verses before it. Now, he says we're to present our bodies living sacrifice. We are to be conformed to his image, transformed in our minds. And then you go down here, verse 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, that means to speak faith, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teacheth, didasko, on teaching. Or he that exhorteth, perikalesis, the tongue, on exhortation. Or he that giveth, let him do it in simplicity. Or he that ruleth, with diligence. He that showeth mercy, with cheerfulness. These are the 7 gifts given by the Holy Spirit to the church. Everyone here has one of those gifts. You might have a couple maybe, but everyone has one. And that gift God anoints for you to use with great power as you exercise that gift. So you need to know that gift. Now, I would like to mention, and you'll find in one of your ships, the 7 gifts of Romans 12. We just need to look at that a little bit. And then the 7 gifts are mentioned, and the good point, every gift has strength and every gift has weakness. See, so there's a wonderful balance here. The gift of prophecy or forthtelling, not necessarily foretelling, where you're telling something that you're prophesying something in the future. Most of the way the word prophecy is used, it's to tell forth the word of God. It's also used in the Old Testament places to tell something that no one knows before, prophesying that the prophets and all use. But this is a foretelling. A person with a gift of prophecy has quick judgments on right and wrong. Everything is pretty well black and white. The ability to sense dishonesty and react harshly. Openness about personal thoughts, they're very honest. They're impulsive, painfully direct and persuasive. Negatively, they're correcting, jumping to conclusions. They have a condemning spirit. They dwell on the negative. Sometimes they lack tact. They condemn themselves for what they did that was not too gentle. And they demand response to rebuking. I won't tell you the gift that Martha has. Serving. Timothy. Ability to see practical needs and meet them. The joy in serving, so that they disregard that. A person with the gift of serving wears themselves out helping people. They meet physical needs in the life of people. They have short-range projects that they like. They need appreciation to confirm their service. Negatively, they neglect home responsibilities. We had some women in our church. We're at the church almost every day. There was this and that to do. They picked up anything they could do to help. But their home was a wreck, people told me. A joy in serving so that they disregard their health. They meet physical needs. They enjoy short-range projects. They need appreciation to confirm their service. Negatively, neglect home. It goes about proper authority to do job. Take too many jobs that wear out. They become hurt when others aren't grateful. You need to overthank them because they're sensitive and they really, you give them gasoline to burn when you thank them very strongly. The gift of teaching, as evidenced by Luke. Luke gives you details no other gospel gives you. Luke is doctor, and there are multiple Greek terms that are medical used in Luke only, which is interesting. They check out statements to see if they're true. They want to get credentials from a speaker. Is this man qualified? They're alert to details. They love to research and get facts. Negatively, they can be nitpicking. Yes, that's the Greek word, but you didn't get the proper way to say it. It should be said a little more so-and-so. They're detailed. They can be proud of knowledge, critical of practical application. They bore listeners with minute details. We say the person with the gift of teaching goes down deeper, stays down longer, and comes up drier. than anyone else. They're too interested in the details, where the other people aren't. I used to think I had that gift, but I do not. I do bore, I'm sure, with different things. But my gift is exhortation. Motivated, the next page, motivated to urge growth to maturity. I love to see people grow. I hate to see people not grow. They desire to give precise steps to growth, do this, and this. You've seen that in your outlines I handed out. They want to explain truth logically. They love face-to-face discussion, and they want decisions. I want them to make that commitment. Identifies with people of different backgrounds. My kids say you never meet a stranger, Dad. In fact, you embarrass us talking to people. Why are you talking to that person, they said after we've left. Well, they were there. And they responded. And their little boy, he liked me when I said, I'm 2.5 years old, are you okay? and he smiled, and the dad said, where'd you get that? I said, it's my tooth fairy. The gift of giving. Matthew. Interesting, Matthew was the tax collector in the scriptures. They discern wise investment opportunities. They make money. Now, let me just give you a counsel. You don't want a man with this gift head of your finances, because he's going to try to not let you spend any of the money. He wants to save the money. So you don't want that guy in charge of your finances. He will keep you from ever doing anything, because you might need that money on a rainy day. So I always want to know what this guy's gift is, if he's on the finance committee. They want to give quietly, give quality gifts. They see financial needs others overlook. They're alert to see what others do with money. Oh yeah. They respond slowly to emotional appeals. You come to someone with a gift of giving, they got a lot of money. But man, they're not going to give to you. That first presentation just barely warms the chimney a little bit. There's no fire at all. Negatively, they're chinchy with their own family. They listen to unscriptural counsel about money. They put pressure on those who can't afford to give. They tend to seek to control money, invest where people's lives aren't changed, projects, not needs. These kind of people would like to will help you build a building, but they won't help you reach 100 people. And this is why people presidents of seminaries and universities go after these kind of people, because they always have a need for a building on a property. These people will give you $200,000 or $300,000, $500,000 for a building. But you want to reach a tribe of Hukahaka in Hihoa, Central America, they won't help you reach the Helioa. But if you want to build a church to reach the Helioa, they'll help you with that. Okay, administration by Nehemiah. They visualize final results, can break down tasks to small units. They organize, ignores distracting details. They can delegate well, ability to inspire and encourage. All these you need, see, in every church. Negatively, they view people as resource rather than people. They use people, delegate too much work on others, unresponsive to suggestions, failure to give proper explanations, overlooks faults of people. And then the last one, mercy. Oh, you know who gets married? Many times the prophet marries the mercy person, and they fight all the time. The mercy person wants to give to everybody. The prophet wants to check them out real good. We're not going to give till we see so-and-so. The mercy person, sense genuine love. They need deep friendships. They deal with mental rather than physical needs of people. They listen to people cry and tell their stories. They remove the causes of hurt. They attract people with mental, emotional distresses. You have a mother or people all the time talking to her. They have a tendency to avoid decisions and firmness. They're very accepting. Now, negatively, they're not firm. They get angry, and someone tells them a problem they're having with the husband, they get angry with the husband. It's none of their business to get angry with the husband. It's not their husband. But they take up offenses, and someone tells them negative about someone, they get angry with them too. There's no Bible on that. They decide emotionally. They attracted to the prophecy gift. Attracts others of opposite sex. Possessive friendships. They're so sweet and so nice. Guys say, oh, what a person to live with. But you got a counseling ministry going on when you marry that gal. Judges those not sensitive. Oh, honey, he's a hateful husband. She told me all the things he's done that are wrong. Oh, kick him out of the church. Sometimes they have great sympathy with those who are violating God's principles. They don't want you to judge them and kick them out. They don't want you to discipline them. Don't we believe in forgiveness? See? All right. Those are basically your 7 gifts. Now let me make an observation here. My observation is to have a biblical New Testament church, you have to have all 7 gifts in your church because they're balanced, see? They give a balance. You have 4 or 5 people with a prophecy gift and 1 or 2 with a mercy gift. You won't be helping many people around you with needs. I believe a New Testament church had these 7 in it. So any New Testament church has to have at least 7 people in it before it can be a New Testament church to give the balance. And so if you have a committee, what should be the perfect committee? Where you have these 7 represented on a church committee. That way you will have balance. You see the point of that? These together give you a balance because they involve all kinds of emotions and decisions and things that help make something. Now, you need to discover your gift. Now, some of you have already done that. You've taken maybe test after test. So here we have 130, 137, and 138. Or to start with 134, no, probably 137. Uh-oh. I don't see, do we have all of those sheets in there? I don't see. Okay, yes, all right. Yeah, you need page 137 and 138. Yeah.
Yeah, all the questions.
Yeah, where you have the questions. Now here's what you do with the question. Now some of these questions are difficult to answer. Here's the point. If this is most like you, you would answer a 4. If it's least like you, you'd answer, say, a 1 or a 0. And you put it on the page with the bars in it. You put it on page, well, I don't have it, but you would have it. Maybe do I have it?
139.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you fill it in on page 139. All right. In other words, question number 1 is in row A. Do you get the idea? Mm-hmm. Is it generally easier to speak out than remain silent? I would put 4 on that for me, under row A. Question number 8, the capacity to identify, define, and hate evil. I'd put a fairly high thing on that. You see what I'm saying? So you go down and put 4 is maximum that represents you totally. Otherwise it would be a 3. If you don't know, it would be a 2 or 3. And if it's not like you at all, it'd generally probably be a 1 or something. And so you take the next 15, 20 minutes, don't feel rushed, and go through these series of, 50 questions, 49 questions. And you put them the right thing, then you add them up and you put the total on the right side. When you've done all, then you add it up. Any question on that? And this is for you, see, to do. And would someone pass me a cookie? Thank you. Or someone that's close to you, you bring on staff because he has this gift that you need to do a better job. And so I think something like this should be given to everyone, that you have a control over whether they are hired or not in a spiritual sense. I realize there are other tests that maybe are better than this. I'm just saying this one does work with the 7 gifts pretty well. And a guy has given this to, I think, 30,000 people or 40,000 people. and you take one of his lecture series, he has you fill that out. He doesn't take them up, he simply wants you to know about where you are. And therefore, there's certain things you do in certain areas. See, it's good, it shows you your weaknesses. And for my gift, I see the weaknesses that where my gift is not being operated. Every gift operated in the Spirit will be okay, will be balanced. But we all will have a tendency to move a negative way in some certain areas of our gifts. I came to a church. They had a great evangelist that's supposed to preach in their church. And he got sick. And the group, the staff met. Some had read my books. And they said, we can't have him. Who can we get that at least will bless us? And we got 2 weeks to get someone, and who wouldn't be booked that maybe has an opening? And they discussed it, and they prayed, and they came up with my name, and they called me on the phone. I'd never been in their church. I respected their church. I knew their pastor well because their son was a missionary. And the pastor and his wife were godly, marvelous, fantastic, and had been missionaries in the Philippines. And he had one of the largest churches in Fort Worth. So they called me and said, we got together, staff and prayed, and our choice canceled because of illness, and we would like to ask you to come. Well, I felt I'd been honored by that. But the man was a spiritual gift specialist, the pastor. So after I preached, we met with the staff between the first service and the second. He said, how many know Waylon Moore's gift? All the hands went up. And he said, all right, now you're going to stick with this. What is his gift? Every single one of them named my gift. He had trained them to spot gifts because you need certain gifts to do a certain job in your church, and others, you don't want that person doing that job. See? That isn't their gift. They won't add harmony to it. So I said, how did you do that? He says, the pastor has trained us on spiritual gifts because to use someone in the church just because they volunteer doesn't mean they're qualified to do it. And some people who don't volunteer, they're highly qualified because we know they have the gift, but they don't know they have it. So I thought, what a sharp thing to do. And I never forgot that. I said, I've never been in any church where the pastor was that excellent in gifts, and he had trained his key staff to spot gifts. When they all put my gift, I couldn't believe it. I thought all my life that I was a teacher, but I'm not. I'm an exhorter. An exhorter is a two-edged sword. He exhorts and he tries to get you out of the negative, and he also wants to push and kick you along from behind to get you moving forward. He has both the negative and the positive there. But, okay, you about through? Mm-hmm. All right. Did you all have a clear one, or any of you had one that are basically the same? You had two that basically are the same. Okay.
I have two as well.
Okay. That three, sorry, you need to do it over. I hate to admit it, but I don't think you're that talented. You're not that quite gifted in three, I believe. So you probably need to do that over. But sometimes a number of people will have two, and they're very close together, some of them. But, well, anyone want to Would you be willing to? Any that doesn't want to share, you don't have to share. But could I see the hands just to have an idea? How many have the gift of prophecy? Okay, 2. All right. The gift of serving. 2. Gift of teaching. Just 2, 3. Okay. The gift of exhortation. You have it. I have. You have it twice. Okay. The gift of giving. It's good to know who you are. Yeah, I'll see you later. The gift of organization. Okay. Mercy. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More have mercy than any other. We're so glad you're here. We know we'll get hugged before we get out of here, guys. We know they'll let us know that they love to have us here. Okay. All right. Now, they mentioned some points, hindrances to discovering your gift, and they are listed 5 hindrances on page 139 below the chart. If you have that in yours, let's look at those just a moment. Unresolved root problems in personal living. I had it, but I don't have it here with me. I've got it in my notebook. There are 3 root problems. One is an inability to forgive people. Holding what someone did that was wrong to you and not forgiving them will short circuit your ability to exercise your gifts effectively. In fact, a lack of forgiveness is probably the single greatest hindrance to being used of the Lord. Because all of us have had people, I could spend a whole hour just on the principle of forgiveness. You know Hebrews 12, 14, and 15, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord, looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness coming in trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. If you do not forgive, you put a bitter spirit over all the people close to you, and you will poison your family if you cannot forgive. You will poison. Are you aware that I had a bunch of, I had people wanting for me to quit almost from the first day I came to the church in Tampa. I had people didn't like me. Had done nothing and they didn't like me. They liked the former pastor who was a multiple adulterer 6 times. Oh, they didn't know that, and the Lord wouldn't let me tell them. I wanted to tell them so bad. Lord wouldn't let. He's my servant. You shut your mouth. So I didn't tell anyone. My wife, of course, knew because people had come to her and told her. People do things. People hurt us and they don't know it. And people hurt us and are glad to do it. And in any ministry of responsibility, you will be accused falsely, and you will be accused rightly, but not nicely. I was working for turn it on. Is it on? Okay. I was working for a jail system that works with convicts in Los Angeles behind 4 locked doors in the inner core of a jail with prisoners that could be violent. And the ministry of this group was to call their relatives, try to link them up with the people that they loved, because they were only allowed 1 call maybe a day or 1 call a week, something like that. But we could call a number of times. Secondly, we had Bible studies in there for all the people. A number got saved. I taught a Bible study. I desperately needed a job, because if you're working in a navigator home, your money, part of your money goes for your room and board in that house, and that helps to enable the leader of that house to not work, but spend all his time in ministry, working with you and in ministry. So the boss who hired me left after 3 or 4 days on a fundraising trip up the coast of California all the way to Seattle and so forth. He didn't come back for nearly 6 weeks. So his number 2 man was the one who trained me, and we got along well. And he complimented me, said, "You're the best person I've ever had here. You not only win them, but you want to help them grow. You have a marvelous balance." Couldn't have been nicer. And we had a fabulous time. And I won a number of people to Christ, and I got a number of people growing, and I loved every minute of it. Then the boss came back, and I was told 2 or 3 days later that they didn't have enough money to keep me. He didn't get enough money, so they let me go with a 3 days notice or something. So I told the people, the boss at the house where I was, Bob, that I had been let go because they didn't have any money. Well, Bob called up the boss, and the boss said he didn't do his job. One of the poorest workers we've ever had here. He was lazy, didn't come on time, he this and this. And Bob said, "Thank you." So Bob said, "I don't want you living anymore. You can't support the work here. I'm sending you back to Colorado Springs." Well, I didn't know that I was being disciplined. He didn't say that. He just said, "You're not fitting in." And I'd been there maybe 2 months and didn't bring any pay home except 1 week or 2. And so I could see, why should I live there? I couldn't get a job. I tried a bunch of things. So I was put in the car with someone going back to Colorado Springs and took that long trip of a couple of days getting back to Colorado Springs from Los Angeles. When I got there, they were having a party at Dawson Trotman's Pink House, where he and Lila, his wife, lived. And so I said, at least I can have some fun. So I went around talking to people, enjoying, laughing, just enjoying myself. And Trotman called me over and he said, "Waylon, you're having too much fun here. Why do you think you're back here at this place?" I said, "Well, they didn't have money to keep me on the job." He said, "You were fired on that job. You didn't do a good job." I said, "What?" He said, "Bob Foster called and they told Bob that you didn't do the job, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you were a poor worker." I said, "That isn't true." I said, "Who said that?" "The boss." I said, "The boss was only there 2 days and I was there 6 weeks. He was out of town. He was in another state. He never saw me work. He didn't see me work 1 day." And the man I worked for, the number 2 guy, said I was the best worker he'd ever had. "You know his name?" "Yeah." "You know his phone number?" "Yeah." Dawson went to his office and called the man right then. He came out smiling. He says, "You're clear. What you said is exactly true. I'm going to get on Bob." Bob didn't check it out. He called the wrong person, talked to the wrong person. He knew that the boss wasn't there. I told him I was working with, say, Bill instead of Mr. Johnson. So he jumped on Bob. He said, "He should be out there with you, not up here. He did a good job. You talked to the wrong person." But you see how my boss, my ultimate boss, immediately heard something bad about me, and I said it's not true. He checked it out immediately. He didn't wait another day. He didn't wait till he could get to it. He did it immediately and cleared me. That was Trotman. It was amazing. If you did wrong, boy, he can nail you to the wall by doing wrong. Here's a guy at the door. Who's at the door? Oh. Can someone let him in? Here we go. But wasn't that interesting? See, and so that was an experience I had where I'd been falsely accused. I hadn't done wrong, I'd done right. But the boss was sharp enough, he immediately checked me out, found I was telling the truth, and the other guy didn't get the right information. And I've never forgotten that. And it made me love Trotman even more. Trotman had come to me and said, "You really goofed." I put on a skit, and another guy and I, there was a team from Arkansas called Homer and Jethro. One played a mandolin, the other played a ukulele. And they took every modern song and put new words to it where it was funny. And whatever was the top song, they changed the words and sung it like hillbillies. And so we would lip sync the song. And one of the songs, I said, let's dress like a woman. That's the best way to sing that song. So we got some wigs and we put on borrowed dresses, long dresses, and we had hose. And I think I never could get a pair of heels that was big enough for me to wear. But we sung that song and we faked everything and we lip synced, and they just died laughing. We had a great time. And at the end, I got out some shaving cream and I pulled down my hose and shaving cream, and I took a razor and did like that. And the guys nearly rolled off the side of the hill with that one. It was fun, but I could tell something happened to some of the women. Trotman wasn't there. When Trotman got there, he said, "You embarrassed my wife and all the women here. You must apologize. What they do in their personal body thing to take some hair away or something, that's their business, and it's nothing you make fun over. You can't ever do that again. You apologize to the group of women." I said, "Oh my." So I had to stand up before a group of 300 people and apologize for being insensitive to women, and I asked for forgiveness. I never wanted to do anything again. Doss said, "Now you're on tomorrow night again." I said, "I can't do it." He said, "You've got to do it. You do whatever you want to do, but you don't shave your legs anymore." See, so that's the other side of Trotman. But everything he did, I remember almost all of it. It's like you're with the finest Christian, the sharpest man you've ever known. And he tattooed me. He marked me for life. That man. His vision, the vision I have, I got from Trotman as a human instrument of discipling and reaching the world with multiplication. That was Trotman. He was alone by himself. No one was saying that at all. Wasn't a single major religious figure in the world that was saying what Trotman was saying in the 1950s and 60s. And so anyway, now it's suggested that we get into groups and we discuss our gift and the strengths and weaknesses of it, and see if anyone else has something they would say that might help us, or maybe they know you well enough that they could maybe offer some suggestion or something. I don't know what you would say, Henning, about that. We're certainly ahead of our game. We also, it says we're to have a time of prayer, and certainly that we should do anyway. Mm-hmm. And so if there's not much to discuss about, then you could go to prayer. But talk quietly and pray quietly.
Yeah, talking quietly and praying quietly. If there's something to discussion or questions, just go to the small groups like we had before, and then you can have ask questions. But just take a moment for praying, and then we will eat 5 minutes after 6. We just prepare our evening bread, and then we.
Is evening bread something going to take cooking or something?
No, it's actually I just call in German dinner is the literal translation is evening bread. We call it Abendbrot. It's dinner, and our dinner, the German term is there's bread in it, in the German term. So we don't say it doesn't matter if you eat warm or if you eat bread at all. You just always call Abendbrot.
The
dinner.
Evening meal is called bread.
Abendbrot, yeah. It's always
what?
Abendbrot.
Abendbrot?
Brot.
Borscht? Borscht?
Brot. Brot.
Borscht?
B-R-O-T.
Bort?
Yeah. Brot.
Amish Bort?
Abendbrot.
Abendbrot.
Like Brötchen, but
Why don't you just say bread? Pardon me, I'm
And
sorry.
so it's like Abend is evening.
Or evening
And
bread.
bread, yeah,